Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Mariah. How are you?
I honestly am really good. Today's the last day of school, and so I feel like we have a new lease on life where we don't have to follow 500 packets of information, and we
Right.
can just go into summer and try and figure that out.
Right, right. Have your summer plans been derailed too much, or can you
All of
still
them.
do?
Well, so we have a bunch of camping trips planned because that seems to be like a lot of what we do, but then a lot of other trips are canceled. Like my husband's company is restricting travel, so he can't leave the state.
Okay.
So some of the things that we normally would do, like we normally
Hmm.
see his family in Michigan, and he can't go. So,
Right.
we just have to figure things out.
Sure. Be
How about
creative,
you?
right? I don't think anything that I had planned this summer is canceled because I really didn't have a lot of plans, but I bought a state park pass. And I think my commitment is getting to state parks this summer.
I think
And
awesome. Yes.
yeah, and crossing some of those off the list, crossing county parks. There's a lot of cool county parks even, and just trying to get out and experience outdoors a little more. That's not usually a me thing, but I think that there's beauty in outdoors and nature, and it's nice to get outside and walk around.
Okay, so I'm curious, where in Wisconsin have you gone so far that you're pumped about?
I was up in Door County last weekend, and there's some parks. I will have to. I don't remember the names off the top of my head. But there were some.
Peninsula? Like that's the big one.
No, no,
Okay.
we weren't up that far. We were closer to Sturgeon Bay area.
Did you do the
Um,
cave rock one?
yes, the cave. Yep, and it goes into
Wonderful.
Whitefish Bay State Park. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Okay, when you go back up, our favorite place as a family is Newport Beach State or Newport
Yes.
State Park. And there's this little trail that comes off of the beach and goes back to the parking lot eventually. I think it's a 2.5 or 3 mile loop. And it's just the best. Like you're right along the water and it's so cool.
Yeah, that's what we did that's what last Saturday was, is walking along the water, and it was just really cool. It was nice to be along Lake Michigan, and it looked very like Caribbean, and so that was fun.
I love that you're doing the state thing. So our son Ian is 12 and he wants to go to all the national parks, which
Good
sounded
for
really
him.
fun before, like, quarantine and like, people were on fire. And my husband can't leave the state. So like,
Right.
I was like, well, maybe we'll explore it like right where you're at, the state parks. 'Cause
Yeah.
that seems like the
Well,
right thing.
start there. And I mean, national parks, they're there. I think the national parks are going to be really busy this summer because for a lot of people, like their plans changed. So they're hitting up the national parks. And I think that that's awesome that
Right?
people are
Or maybe
doing that.
I think it's a big deal. I'm like recording this weird. I'll fix it. There we are. That's better. I don't mind being in the small box today because I'm like, and I don't even think I should say what I want to say, but I feel like I look like a housewife with like a messy bun. I don't know what's happening.
It's all good. It's all good. It's summer.
I've mommed so hard today and worked so hard today that like I'm just like, this is what we got.
Mhm.
This is what I look
Yeah.
like.
I mean, take it or leave it. We never intended on our video being out there, but it is. So
Yep. Yep. So
yeah.
hopefully I'm hoping that people are listening on podcast platforms and you don't have to like, some days I'm cool with you looking at me. Like the days I wear mascara, I'm so in. But like today, when my lashes are just like little bearsies, whatever.
It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, so you segueing into like plans this summer, you and your family do a really cool thing that I think is fascinating. And you have family meetings on a pretty regular basis, and you have family goals and you talk about them. And I just think that that's a really cool concept and something that I'd love you to, share a little bit more about why and
Sure.
because I want to learn, because I think even though I don't have a family, I think it's good for my like personal goals. And, if you're in a relationship, it would be a great way to have a conversation about where are we going and all that stuff too. So
Yeah. So I always joke that we run our family like a business. I refer to all of us as the board of directors. Um, and so this is interesting. Bill and I started doing this forever. So we got together in 2002. So it's been 18 years that we've been together. And we
wow.
started out making lists. And a lot of it was like, I mean, we were in our 20s. So it was like things that we needed to have or obtain. At
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, it was like we had to finish the basement in the first house that we bought together because like it needed some help, and we had to remodel our kitchen, and we like had trips that we wanted to take, and so we made lists together about what we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do. And then as we like ended up getting married and kind of tied together, we're both kind of ambitious. And so we also tend to do a lot of the things at the same time, but we thought in our goal setting, we would look at it differently and we would make sure that we were both on the same page about this is what we want out of life. Because we have had to make some changes in goals based on what we were doing. So for example, like in the time period that we were choosing to create our offspring, I was unable to go for some of the promotions that I really wanted to go for because I was pregnant and like taking maternity leaves and it just really hindered my ability to like function in my life. But we committed together to having a family, and then like how do we plan our life so that we are all getting what we want out of this? And so I guess we've looked at this as sometimes there have been times when like we look at the list and like we can tackle certain things, and sometimes we look at the list and think, okay, like how do we do this really well? Like we had Ian, Bill traveled like crazy, and that left me essentially single parenting. And after a while, like I just wasn't happy with it, and I don't think he was happy with it either. But like we thoughtfully paused and said, like, this is not working for us. This is not the way we want to live. And we actively like looked at what were our goals, and we made changes. So he took a different job, but it was because we actively paused. So we've learned this active pause, and we do it regularly. So like I'll show you, this is one of our lists of all the things that we wanted to do. We used to plan for 3 years at a time because that was the deal. And then we switched to annual planning because 3 years out, like
a lot can happen.
Right? Do you have any idea what you want to do in 2023?
No.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe take an international trip in 2023.
Right. So then I like to put the dates. So we go back through. So, all right, Bill and I have a family meeting tonight because we include the kids in the planning process. And we always plan and work a little bit together. So on Wednesday, we had like a very sexy day in our bed with our checklists. And now we have a phone app. We use Todoist, and we like have shared stuff, and we put our life goals in the app. I like paper. Bill likes an app, so we kind of do both. So we went back to the 2015 to 2018 goal list. We crossed some additional things off. And so like literally we had landscaping on the list, and we did some of it ourselves, but we're like actually hiring real landscapers this year.
Good.
2020, that will be done. And there's things like I wanted Bill to have a big green egg grill because I wanted him to make me delicious things.
Right.
Those are different brands, but we crossed it off in 2015. Like that felt like the right thing to do.
Sure.
You know, we needed a washer and dryer, and we want to go on an Alaskan cruise, and we still haven't done that, and we really want to go. So like that's kind of, the list is more here. Somewhere along the way in I think 2015 or 2016, we stopped doing like what do we need, and we changed the list to like what kind of life do we want, what makes us happy, and what brings us joy. And so now our current list is very much around really like we don't need anything. We just want better experiences and to like use our time in the best way possible.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does, totally.
There's a lot of listing, and like what we have found is like when you document what you want and you're on the same page about it, like something about the universe kind of brings that into like your life. Like it's amazing. Like we read the list and like we put it away. Like it lives in one spot in our office. And then we pull it back out. It's always like, oh, like on 2018, we make a new list every year, and we make it at least 50 things. So obviously we're not going to probably like if we did one thing a week, maybe we'd get there, but like if we can't like pay off a truck and like, you know, go on an Alaskan cruise in like in 2 weeks, like it's just not a thing. So we make the list of all the stuff that we want to do. And like when we go back to look at it, like we wanted a Mall of America family excursion. We did that for spring break like 2 years ago, and we were like, oh dude, we did that, like we can cross it off. Like it's always fun that you put these things out and say I want to do this, and then like once you put it out there, like I just feel like it kind of comes to fruition the way
it's like setting an intention, and it's a step further than thinking about it. You're actually writing it on paper.
Yep. And not only writing it on paper though, Michelle, we're like committing to each other that these are goals that we both hold valuable, and we both are going to commit to helping each other get to. So some things are for me, some things are for him, some things are for our family, but we both like just have the conversation so that we're both committed, and we're trying to teach the kids this skill set. Because I just think that this is like adulting skills. Like no one taught me how to do this. We kind of
No.
stumbled our way into it, but it works for our family because
Mhm.
like otherwise, if you think about this, like, you know, either like when you're dating somebody and you're not really sure what their goals are, or when you were married, like I might be working toward a promotion at work or have a huge project coming up that I need to commit extra time to. If we don't
Mhm.
communicate that and I don't like tell Bill this is something that's happening, like how can I expect him to support me properly?
Exactly. Exactly. You have to have those conversations every now and then.
Right. So we just do it
Yeah.
like formally. And like my favorite ones are when we've done like a retreat where we like left, someone stayed with the kids. We went
Mhm.
to like a resort and like hung out together. And it was just a weekend. I don't even think we
Mhm.
went more fancy. It was probably like Lake Geneva. And it was like we went and we golfed and we spent time together and we really like examined like what does life look like in our best case scenario.
Mhm.
And in that case, like it's here and we're here. How do we close the gap and get as close to best case scenario the way we want to live as possible?
That's awesome.
It's
I
fun.
mean, well, because you're setting time for yourselves. So again, as a couple, you're committing certain times every so often to yourselves. And I think that there are times that people struggle with that.
Hmm. Well, to be fair, this is like people are always like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you do this." Well, it's not always smooth. Let's be real. Like half the
Right.
reason that we're having the meetings that we're having like tonight now in the last couple of days are we've had a big shift in our family, and
Right.
quite frankly, it's not going well. So, like, I tried to call the timeout a couple times, and I don't think he really heard me. And so, I very clearly the other day was like, "We are calling a full-on timeout. Like, I'm not a happy camper." And like we have to deal with this. And he was like, okay, I hear you. Like he didn't hear me at first, but he definitely heard me
Mhm.
when I called it and was like, we need to deal with this because like,
Sure.
you know, for us, I made a significant investment in a business recently which is taking a lot of my time. I've been the
Yeah.
primary homeschooler for our kids because Bill's job doesn't have the flexibility that mine does.
Mhm.
And now that we're heading into non-school time, like the kids, what's it, it's Friday, at least 3 days this week, have had half the damn neighborhood in my house or at my house, and they're loud. And I'm on the phone for conference calls a lot or trying to
Mhm.
record a podcast. And like, I can't carry all the things and do the grocery shopping and do all the doctor's appointments and do all the
Right.
things. And I hate to say this because my husband is incredible. Like, he's
Mhm.
my favorite person, and he's, I think, far better than most spouses out there
Right.
based on like informal discussions with piles of women, you know, whatever. But at the same time, he's also a dude. And like,
He thinks differently than you do.
yeah, like I just feel like I
Mhm.
carry a lot of mental load and like
Right.
you carry all of the load. So, I mean, you probably get this. But
Mhm.
for example, our daughter, like I got a million phone calls from the doctor in the last week. And I don't know why they call me as a primary instead of him, but like I got a million phone calls. I didn't understand what the heck they were for. So I called the pediatrician's office and was like, why are you calling me 16 times? Well, it was like 8 calls times 2 kids, like 16 calls. It
Right.
was crazy.
Right.
Their automated system went haywire and they were like telling me that we could have a video visit. And I was like, thank you very much for telling me that like 16 times. But they also mentioned when I called that like my daughter hadn't come in for our daughter, hadn't come
Mhm.
in for a well child visit since she was 4. She's turning 9 in September. So the amount of like anger, resentment, and dirty mom guilt that I had mainly toward myself of how could you
Mhm.
do this? How could you drop the ball? Like she's been to the doctor, like
Right.
flu shots every year. She's gotten sick, but
Sure.
we didn't get notified about the well child visits, and I didn't think about it. So of course we've taken Ian to all of his. So I was
Mhm.
like, is this a second child thing? And then I like after I beat myself about it for like hours, I was like, why am I the one doing this? Because there's not anywhere in our planning that we were like, I will be the designated caregiver for the people, like I'm going to be in charge of their doctor visits. We didn't decide that. I just picked it up as the mom.
It's, I think a lot of times things get, I think a lot of times things get deferred to as
Well,
the mom.
likely, but it's 2020 and I
Well,
we
but
plan.
think of, yep. But think about it. Even when it comes to kids being sick from school, I mean, I know families sometimes rock, paper, scissors for who's going to stay home.
We used to have fights. Like, this is part of the reason I left corporate America and like run my own business now, because it used to be like, whose day is more important and who has to stay home with this kid? It was like,
exactly.
I can't miss. Well, I have a client meeting and I can't, whatever. And it was like, it felt
And it almost tears the both of you apart because the children are that priority, and everything runs smoothly until someone gets sick, even if mom gets sick or dad. I mean, you take one faction out of that and it all just falls apart. So
well, and
I get it.
No one got sick. It was the well child visit that fell apart. And I was like, I'm a horrible person. We're terrible parents. But then like, that was part of my calling it this week, was like, dude, I shouldn't have to carry this mental and like emotional burden of remembering all of the things.
Right.
Like, just because I'm flexible, like, you can remember that our child needs to have a well child visit annually. And like, it's been 5 years. So I shouldn't be the only one at fault here. Not that I'm looking to point the finger, because I'm really not. All I'm trying to say is that like, it's 2020. And we have shared responsibilities as couples, and they should be equal. Like, I am not, I said this earlier, like, and now I look like a housewife, and I'm not a housewife, and I'm not trying to knock housewives, because if your job is to run your family, that's a big job. It takes a lot of work and mental stamina. There are no breaks. There are no paid vacation. There are practically no perks, except that hopefully your children are adorable and like you love them. But it's a really hard job, and it's not the one that I signed up for. Like, I'm good at working. I'm a little bit more dudeish that way. So I don't know.
Right. So tonight
right now to fix the problem.
Right. So you're having a meeting, and it's with the kids tonight too, right?
Yep. So I put this on Facebook. So if anybody
follows. I know. And that's what sparked me to like think that this would be a good topic, because so many people were commenting about how they thought this was a brilliant idea.
Right. So because now we homeschool all the damn time, and I hate it. This is the whiteboard backwards. And I put out Friday family meeting. So I asked the kids to come prepared to discuss 3 topics tonight. So the way we structured this is that Bill and I met Wednesday, and we talked about what are we proud of where we're at, like what was wonderful, what's gone really great. That was our first meeting on Wednesday, and we went through and just really like lived in the moment and celebrated all the things. Last night we talked a lot about how do we want things to look this summer, but we want the kids to be involved. So the 3 questions to ask are, the first question is, what are your goals for the summer? What do you want to do? It's because I want to hear what they want to do.
Oh, for sure.
The second question is, what's working well in our family right now? What are the things that are good that like make you happy? And the third question is, what do you wish was different, and what can we do better as a family?
Well, that's good.
Well, I mean,
and those are easy things to have. Yeah.
God, I made them write them down and come, and because like I write things down, and I'm like, well, this is teaching a couple of things to me. One, participation and your opinion matters.
Yeah.
Like also, you should come prepared. So like in the real world, if you have a meeting, you should come prepared for it. And like that, I want them to be good people. I want them to be like functional society members. And I don't like, no one ever taught me this stuff. I don't know if you ever learned it.
Not until I was in clubs or any, clubs or things in high school and college. Yeah. I mean, we didn't have family meetings. I don't think my parents had time for family meetings. I don't know that my parents ever had. I mean, my mom stayed home. So she had 5, at one point she had 5 kids she was raising.
See, rockstar housewife. Can't do that.
And running everyone, knowing the mental list of who goes where, when. Yeah. And then maybe someone got forgotten once in a while, likely the oldest child that could walk somewhere or call a friend. And my dad worked hard, and especially in the summertime. And so I think there was a lot of time in summer that I don't even know that my parents had 5 minutes to try to get on the same page, let alone, and I think if they would have, who knows what would have been different, but I appreciated all of the things that we did as a family. I don't know that they were, my mom said none of us kids came with an instruction book. She did her best she could with each of us. And yes, she raised us all differently, but she was at a different point in her life every time another person came along.
Right.
And so
awesome.
Right. And so, every time I think about that, I'm like, well, life doesn't come with an instruction book, and we're all just sitting sometimes in it. And sometimes we just have to sit in where we're at before we can really think about what we want to do differently.
Yeah,
For me,
so I was going to say, we don't usually take the time though. And I mean, I feel like the purposeful pause is so important. I mean, so how did you do with it? Because like you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of. You're kind of like writing your own stuff now.
I use friends to bounce things off of. When I really get heavy, it's like call a friend, or use kind of a sounding board, because I mean, there's times. So I left a job that I loved. And I had a sounding board of like, hey, I'm thinking about taking this opportunity. And having a conversation with people about that. And then that felt right at that time, because everything was so fresh and so many changes in my life that I'm like, I don't really know how to do this by myself. But sometimes the trick in using friends as a sounding board is that you can rely too heavily on other people's thoughts to sway your own. And so I've started more now. Yes, I'll chat with friends about things that are heavy with me, but then I'll pause in some of that before I get too far in their thought, because I want to make sure that what they're saying aligns with what I'm thinking and what's in my heart, because sometimes it doesn't align.
But I think that's smart to like take that in and like say, does this feedback feel relevant to me?
Right.
I mean, I think essentially we do the same thing, but like we're committed. You're asking someone who's just giving an opinion, which
exactly. Someone who has an opinion, but also loves, that I would think also loves me.
Right.
And so, but then you like have to tenderly, like, as you explore relationships and put yourself out there a little bit, then you have to figure out how you have those conversations with people, and when in the right time to do that is with people that you're, getting involved with.
Getting to know. I mean, I wonder about that, because I feel like if anyone's listening to this and they're listening to me, they might be like, that's a lot of girl to handle. I don't think I need any of that business. Because I mean, I feel maybe I am, I don't know. But I think it's okay to say like, what are your goals and what's your ambition and where do you want to be? Because especially as you're choosing your person, like I really believe like the most important decision that you can make is who are you marrying, or who are you partnering with?
Who you're spending your time with, because it's a mirror of who you are.
Yep.
And you want to make sure,
like, make or break your stuff. I mean, like there's no way that Bill and I would be as successful as we are today without knowing that each other has had our backs. Like he's always got my back. In this transition that we just made, we were like looking at this and wondering if is it the right thing to do. And I finally was like, I need you to bet on me. I'm asking you to trust me. And he said, yeah. Same thing. Like when he was looking to make his last job transition, it had to be like, this is going to be a change for our family. And it's his new job is a significant change for our family.
Well, it is. Yeah.
Is crazy. So, I mean, like dating somebody or getting to know them and like sharing space, I think it's critically important to be like, are we on the same path?
Exactly. And and what are thoughts and ideas, and having those conversations. It was easy to do when I was married because we were a team, and you want to, and so then you have that mindset and you have to almost flip that out of the window, because now you're starting all over again from scratch. And the starting all over from scratch that's a hard place to sit and be, because there's so many unknowns that go with that. And then you wonder, like, when is the right time to have conversations? And it becomes a lot if you let yourself think about it. And so I try to, look at, and I haven't really goal set for myself in a long time, just because I think I was sitting in beginnings and endings and too often. And so now I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here a bit. So let's start making some goals.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good thing. I don't know that it's different. I mean, because there's a certain aspect where Bill and I are like married and committed, but obviously not everybody stays married for various reasons.
Right.
And when we come together to like temperature check, it's, are we still growing together? Are we allowing each
Exactly.
other to grow individually, and are we still growing together?
Mm-hmm.
I hope there's never a day that we aren't growing together and choosing,
For sure.
actually choosing each other. But I think that definitely happens. I mean, we have a divorce rate in this
Yes.
country, and the same kind of thing. I think it's important to check in with your person and
Mm-hmm.
say, okay, we said this. Do we still feel great about it? Do we
Right.
need to reevaluate the path? And like, it's sometimes it's okay to get off the ride. Like sometimes it's okay to make a different choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's the active choosing of what you want that really
Well,
leads you to joy.
Well, and I think the other thing is just making sure you're having the conversation with another person too, because like, you know, I remember there were times being married that you have to have the conversation first before you make a decision. You know, I remember saying to Dave, I'm like, I think that in like 3 to 5 years, I'm going to be ready to be done as the event manager at the Pain. And he's like, hold up, wait a second, before you make decisions about what you're going to do, let me figure out what I want to do in my life. I'm like, got it. Because like we both can't be making major life decisions at the same time and changes in our, you know, career paths or whatever. I'm like, no, you can't. And, you know, and so just having that conversation was so important. Or just having a conversation of, hey, I think I'm going to change my career path entirely and leave higher education behind and pursue this wild and crazy idea of working at a museum. And he was just like, okay, you know, but again, it's like, let's have this conversation about what does that mean?
It is. And honestly, so this is funny because you're like, you can't do all these things at once. So this is the importance of having a conversation, because as much as Bill and I try to not do that, we always joke that this is the Meyer's way. We do all the hard things all at the same time.
All at the same time. Right.
And then there's periods where like, it should be blissful, but it almost feels weird because we're not doing the things. But then there's other people who like, it's too much change and it's too much whatever, and they can't do it. But like, you have to know what kind of people you are.
Exactly.
And find out in this process of having a conversation of what kind of people are you?
Right.
Are you people that like one at a time and we're going to trade off? It's your turn. Now it's your turn. Or is it like,
let's just jump in feet first and just do it all.
Yep. I mean, we tried really hard not to do that, but like, we're literally changing everything right now, which is why like, I want a temperature check, like with the kids, like, do you understand why we're doing this? Do you know the role that you play? How do you feel about it? Are we on the right page? Or do like, even though like we want these things, like we have to take them into consideration.
Well,
and
absolutely.
If we want them to grow up to be compassionate, awesome people, like they need it modeled.
Right. And they're at an age too. I mean, in 12 and 8.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they'll be 9 in September. I mean, but like.
But yeah, so I mean, they're at a point too where even if what you're going to do this summer, they should have an input in what is, because maybe they have different ideas, and maybe it's like, well, hey, if we can't get to the national parks this summer, let's get to some state parks. Let's go with Michelle.
I mean, you're welcome to take them anytime. That'd be great.
Hey, you know what? That isn't a bad idea.
I know.
I need to kidnap some kids, and they're old enough that I can kidnap them a little easy. No, I shouldn't say kidnap, but borrow.
You are welcome to borrow them. You'll probably want to give them back, so it's fine. I mean, like, I always joke with them that if they ever got kidnapped, they'd be dropped back off in 20 minutes because they're like, Aaliyah someone might keep her, but Ian is like argumentative. I mean, he just got voted most likely to become a salesman at the end of his 6th grade graduation. But
I can see that.
Yeah, he argues for his point quite solidly. Here's the thing though, it's like he's heading into middle school, and like his academics are changing. It's going to require him to think differently about different priorities and how to get things done. So I'm hopeful that the structure that we have in our family helps get his mindset in the place that's going to help him be a successful adult human.
Right. And you know what? All we're doing is the best we can.
Yeah. So I'm happy to be transparent and report back. I mean, this could be episode.
I would love it. Yeah. Because I mean, it'll be interesting to hear, because you've got an idea in your head of how it's going to go tonight, I'm sure.
Yep. And I snuck a peek at the list. So I'm thinking like, do you guys want to do golf lessons? Can you do the sleepaway camp where you leave? And like on Ian's list is get trampoline. And I'm like, I don't want a trampoline, nor do I want to pay extra insurance for a trampoline.
But you know what happens when you have the trampoline? Everybody comes to your house.
Everyone in this neighborhood has something. They have a pool, they have a trampoline, they have a swing set, they've
Right.
got a thing.
Right.
And so like for the longest time when we had kids, I was like, I want to be the house where everyone comes to
Mhm.
hang out. And I was
Mhm.
thinking like, cool teenagers that we'd make all the pizzas and they'd have all
Yeah.
the snacks and we'd hang out with them and it'd be fun. Like
Mhm.
all these kids just congregate here and they're like all at this awkward, like pre-adolescent middle school-ish age. And they just
Yes.
eat all your food and get in your pantry and then like they leave and they don't talk to you.
No.
So like plus I'm literally on the phone all the time. Like I just don't know what I was imagining, but like the reality is different.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know how it's gonna go tonight. Like we're gonna come and make our best foot forward and
Mhm.
we'll see. I'll report back.
Yeah, sounds good. But I mean, you're giving it a try. And I think that that's the important thing is you're trying what you know, and that is important. And what you know can help other people along the way, because especially if people are struggling with, I don't know what to do, but
Well,
we know we need to change,
I
this might be.
yeah. I'd be super interested in knowing what other people do because I just know like when I shared this on Facebook and was like, I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying this is what works for us. So I'd like to know what other people do. If someone's got a strategy that we haven't tried yet, I think it'd be interesting. When we come together with our list, we each come with a list and then we discuss it so that we don't lose somebody's like important stuff or somebody
Sure.
doesn't like shove something down because it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, because it wasn't there and relevant, right.
So, I mean, I would like suggest start there and then come together and see how your things go. But I'm just curious to know, like, are you trying this strategy? Does it work? Or do you have something different? Or are you,
Right.
because there's a lot of people that never pause, they just keep going.
Keep going.
And with the change that we just made specifically, I mean, I told Bill, I was like, this is like we just stepped on the accelerator. We're going to get somewhere really fast. We
Right.
need to make sure that we are ending up where we want to be and we're happy. Otherwise, like, what is the point?
Exactly. And that to me is the be all end all, is like what's going to be happy and make you happy, because if that's not where you're going fast, then why are you doing it?
Yeah. I mean, I still want to enjoy our summer, but like as I'm looking at the calendar, we have lots of things already like plugged in or things that need to happen or stuff that now is like a bigger priority because of this shift. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, man, we need to get on it now because of course the plan will change, but we should
It
have
will.
a plan so that life doesn't happen to us. At least we have some agenda in this.
Exactly. Because I mean, it's already June, and where did May go?
I don't know. May felt like the longest month, honestly. But then now that it's done, I'm like, what just happened? Like, where did it go? It
Right.
felt like it was lasting forever. I
Yep.
think it was Memorial Day came early that it felt really,
Yes.
yeah. So I don't know. That's what I
Yeah.
want. I want to hear feedback. I want to hear what people think. Especially people who haven't tried this or you're trying this with a newer person. Like, I think it'd be very interesting to know how does it work for you?
Right. Well, I don't know. I'm making it up as I go along.
Same. I'm just trying to have some structure around it so that like, I don't know, everyone can come along with me. Because, you know, there's a saying about that. You can go far alone, but if you want to go, or you can go faster by yourself, but if you want to go farther, go with others.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
I think that sounds about right, what I've heard. Yes.
I'd have to Google it and probably I might even have it backwards. It's fine. Things happen.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious to hear how it goes, and I'm sure we'll have a conversation very soon and we can share with everyone else.
Yeah. Part 2. Maybe I'll make Ian come on with me so he can be like, Mom, what did you make me do this? Because why not?
Tell him he gets to talk to me.
Yeah, then he'll be in because they were like, you know, I was starting to record and they're like, but Michelle's on? Yes. They're like, she's a really
I really have no idea what I have in their like world that apparently whatever I've got, they're like all into it.
I think that you're amazing. Ian goes, she's really fun. You know what, Mom? Most of your friends are pretty fun. And I was like, hey.
Does that mean that I might be fun too? Like fun people attract fun people.
I mean, I think so. So, I mean, I thought that was a big compliment from a 12-year-old.
I would take that from a middle schooler that he thinks that you have fun friends.
Right. Because I'm getting real embarrassing lately, and I think it's not going to get better on his end. So
No, but that's payback.
it's fine. It's
It
fine.
is.
All right. So we'll wrap
Very
it
cool.
up. We'll come back to
Yeah,
episode 2 and we'll share how it went.
that sounds awesome. Have a great meeting tonight.
Yeah. Thanks. All right. I'm going to end.